We are now talking to IBWWA Yankees member Julian Guilarte. What's going on, Julian?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk some baseball. I know we're getting back into it here. We
Yes.
got a few days till opening day, hoping it's not a washout. Do have my hand in a couple of different hats now, trying to set myself up for the season. So I'm excited for that. The Internet Baseball Writers Association is something I just picked up recently. Gonna have a new article coming out for them on some of our minor league guys tomorrow, and I have like a continuation of it too. So it's been good. I got to interview a few players on the team, some minor guys. I even got Lucas Lakey last month, so things have been going right, and looking forward to another fun season. And I'm sure you guys are going to do well too.
Oh, well, thank you. And to me, this is going to be a very interesting, fun season for the Yankees. There is no shifting, and I even brought the shifting to to Josh because I think there was just so much more to get into. So let me ask you this question: with the new CBA rules, do you like the new CBA rules, and does these new rules, in fact, help the Yankees moving forward in the next 2 or 3 years?
Well, the thing is that this year we can still shift. It's the year after you can't do that, and there's a couple other things. Do I like the rules? I love universal DH because I was sick of seeing the pitchers hate. I'm happy we got rid of the 7 inning doubleheaders. Those were really bad. I mean, they're gonna fix the ghost. I mean, the ghost runner. I guess after this year, the players wanted this year. I don't love that one. I'm trying to think what else they changed. There's a couple other things in there, but I do like most of them.
So, is there any rule change that you would have wanted to see implemented in the game to improve it, and why?
Yeah, I guess I could give you one. Robo umps, maybe, because I'm getting sick of the bad strike calls. I was
Really?
on with someone else earlier. I was like, I want to see the automated strike zone. I know it's not perfect either, but the human element's not doing us any favors lately. And I do like the Otani rule, too, on another note. I think that's a good one.
Well, what's the Otani rule? What is the rule?
He can basically stay in the game at DH when he pitches. But I call it the Otani rule because it's suited for him, but it could technically be used for any pitcher.
Interesting. Very, very interesting, especially with the DH situation. We are talking to Yankees member Julian Guilarte. So let's get into the Yankees this year. And obviously this lineup, they made a trade for Donaldson. I think it was a good move by the Yankees. If Donaldson stays healthy, he hasn't been in a lineup with this much talent, this much power in the lineup. Joey Gallo, this whole lineup is fairly healthy going into the season. Even DJ LeMahieu, who was fighting injury all season long last year. Do you see this team, if they stay 100% healthy, the best hitting team in the American League?
Yeah, I think they got a good shot. You're gonna have to look at Toronto too. They have some really good hitters. But the Yankees definitely have a chance because there's only one weak spot, and that weak spot might be turning into a strong spot in Kyle Higakiosha if he can carry over some of that spring magic with all the home runs. I think IKF is going to be really solid at the bottom of the lineup. I think you could see him improve from what he did in Texas. I almost want to say it's like a Didi Gregorius type move. Like you get an unknown shortstop, everyone's like, "Why is this dude here?" And
he's a good hitter too. He's a fairly good hitter.
Yes. Fans. The only problem is he doesn't walk. He can hit the ball. His on base is really bad, and he's like a singles hitter, which is what the Yankees could use to spice up some of the homer or bust mentality. He's got speed. He's not going to strike out, and he plays good defense. Those are three welcome things.
So you mentioned Higashioka as being the spring, I guess, breakthrough candidate this year.
Yeah.
What are your expectations for him now, kind of being more as a full-time catcher, or at least more of a starting catcher?
Well, I would say you can hit 20-plus home runs. I don't think that's too surprising based on what we've seen him do in the past and getting more playing time. I don't expect him to really hit for an eye average, but I guess maybe like a 225 or 230 I wouldn't be too upset with. I think RBIs are not really too high for him. Normally he hits a lot of solo shots, I've noticed. So maybe like 50 or 60 ribbies, maybe like 60 if he gets it going well. I do expect him to call a great game behind the plate. He won't have as many pass balls as Gary. He's going to set the pitchers up better with his framing. He's even starting to throw the ball a little bit better. So I think it's going to be a solid year for him. He doesn't need to be an all-star by any means. You can get by with a light hitting catcher too. And I think if he's the worst hitter, then things are going relatively well for them.
If he hits 20 home runs and has 60 to 70 RBIs, he's an all-star. I mean, how many catchers do that, first of all? And he is a great defensive player, something that Gary Sanchez isn't. And by the way, he's not hitting right now over there in Minnesota either. So I expect that to continue with Gary Sanchez. Unfortunately, Gary Sanchez, I don't know, it's a mental thing because I think he's a fantastic hitter. I think he's mentally messed up in the head. But and actually, I love the move Trevino too, bringing him in, one of the best defensive catchers in all of baseball. People don't even know that, but he's very underrated catching wise. So it was also a very good move by the Yankees. But anyways, everybody, we are talking to IBWWA AA Yankees member Julian Guilarte. So Julian, we look at everything that's going on this offseason with the Yankees, and after this whole I guess lockout or strike was over, everybody thought the Yankees were going to bring in some relief pitching, and there's still a lot of good relief pitchers still up there, still available. The Yankees made a trade the other day, and Speedy, who did they bring in? I'm sorry?
They brought in Miguel Castro, a former Met.
Miguel Castro, and they also bring in another pitcher from the Tampa Bay Rays, if I'm not mistaken.
It's McKay.
McKay, who a lot of people think, obviously didn't have such a great season last year. I think his ERA was at 6, but a lot of people think, obviously the analytics show that he would fit in Yankee Stadium, and he's a good pitcher in a small ballpark. What are your thoughts to the acquisitions the Yankees made so far? And are you surprised that the Yankees, after the lockout, didn't make any moves for any of the big-name free agent type of relief pitchers?
No, I'm not, because I think they have a lot of money tied up in the bullpen and a lot of bad money tied up in the bullpen. Chapman's making too much money. As much as I do like what he's done at certain times, he shouldn't be making $16 million a year. Zach Britton's making $14 million. He's not throwing a pitch this year. So that's unfortunate. I know injuries happen, but I don't think the Yankees want to spend big in the bullpen anymore. I think they want to try to fix that philosophy and spend in other areas. I'm more surprised they didn't get a starting pitcher, honestly. I was expecting a move with the starting pitchers because, they went on Verlander. They had interest in Carlos Rodon. You've heard about Minaya interest too, which didn't materialize. So
I'm surprised about that, by the way, because the Padres gave up they gave up one good prospect, a decent prospect. The other prospect was nothing special. They didn't really give up much from Minaya, and I still don't think the Yankees are done. I think as the season progresses and at the trade deadline, if they think and they feel they need another pitcher, they'll land another pitcher. I just don't think anybody became available. And Casilla is still a guy that the Yankees are very interested in.
Yeah, I think so. Chris Paddock was mentioned for the Yankees. They tried to get him
Don't
in
want
the
him.
Void trade. That's not the biggest.
They got a
loss,
good young
honestly.
prospect, by the way. I like the prospect.
Justin Lang.
I like him a lot.
The Yankees have been making a lot of tight moves to get that 40-man close. Now they're just missing one move left. Albert Abreu was pretty solid, but I do like getting Trevino back, and he was out of options. I understand. I really like the Miguel Castro move, to be honest. That's some of the better moves, I think, because he looked great today. I know it was just one inning, but he tossed a changeup that was 93 miles an hour. He could throw like 100 plus. I've said this before, too. If you can fix him like they fixed Clay Holmes, you have something really good on your hands. I think Holmes is going to be solid. I think the Yankees' bullpen is so deep. I'm not surprised they didn't add anyone. I really think you have a lot of talent in there. And I think Castro's going to be a solid pitcher. You have Peralta for a full season now. Lucas Lickey's still here. And they added Marciano, Schmidt, and Sears, too, because the one thing I don't like, I'll change the subject a bit, but it does go with the bullpen construction. They have 11 bullpen pitchers and only 3 bench guys. I wanted 15 pitchers and 4 bench guys. I don't like the bench being so light with only 3 guys.
I also don't think that the Yankees' rotation was that bad. I think going into the
season, it wasn't bad.
No, I think the Yankees' weakness was their bullpen last year, which is usually not their weakness. And I told Speedy, I thought the Yankees needed to make at least 4 or 5 moves for relief pitchers before the season, and they have done that. So you look at what the Yankees have done; they've brought in 4 pitchers to the bullpen, which Loizica is going to still be in the bullpen. They still
I forgot about him. Hello.
Yes, Loizica, who I think is the future closer for the Yankees.
He's the best reliever in the bullpen.
Yes.
I picked him to win reliever of the year.
Yes.
I did do predictions for IBWAA, but I don't think they get published actually, but I did do a bunch of them. But I think if they hit well, you'll see them. But I could post them too, like maybe tomorrow or Thursday or something. But I have a few fun ideas. I did pick him to get reliever of the year. I think a thing you made was a good point about the bullpen bowling games, but I think there's a couple things you have to look at here. There was two problems. The starting pitchers didn't provide enough length, so the bullpen got tired very quickly. They had to use those guys a lot. I look at Chad Green. He got worn down quickly. He was pitching almost every day. And then the other problem was that the games were so close that the offense wasn't scoring any runs, so the margin for error was razor thin. They couldn't even give up a run or two because that would give up everything. They weren't providing enough offense. I think if the Yankees scored less than 4 runs last year, I think they didn't win one game. I think that's what the stat was, something like that. And a lot of times they failed to score. It was 5 or less was doomsday for them, or 4 or less was doomsday for them, I think. If the other team scored more than 5 runs, it was a disaster for the Yankees.
So one of the more polarizing arms has been Luis Severino. There were rumors that he might be going to the bullpen. Then he pitches 4 scoreless innings.
He was never going to the bullpen
in a start. So what do you think is the expectation?
I'm sorry I'm butting in. I can't stand Yankee fans, okay? Because Luis Severino missed 2 years, and Yankee fans already want to just throw him to the bullpen. He's a waste. It's ridiculous. Before he hurt himself, he was a top Cy Young candidate for the American League. He hurt his arm. The Yankees give him an extension, and oh my God, he hasn't played. So let's throw him to the Wolves. Let's throw him into the bullpen. He stinks. Okay, go ahead, Speedy.
So what are your expectations for him in terms of his spot on the team and also his stuff and his pitching style coming out of the injuries that he's had? Because he was very velocity driven when he was at his top of his game.
Okay, I'm going to dispel the bullpen notion too. I will help you with that. So that's a thing that fans suggested. It was never really an actual thought. The only reason you saw it last year was because they wanted to use him in some type of way, and there wasn't time to build him up to be a starting pitcher. He has had success in the bullpen. I'll give you that. He has looked pretty good out there at times. So it's not that foreign because we've seen him do it. But he's a starting pitcher, and they're about to see what he can fully do. I think it's a make-or-break year for him because it's been a long time. He hasn't pitched fully in 3 years. I think it's time to see how much they can get out of him. I know he's not going to give us 200 innings or even 175 probably, but he's the second starter right now. I don't love making him the second starter. I would have maybe made him the third to try to put his workload down, but maybe they'll mix and match that later in the year. So he is the second starter.
He's fine. He's fine.
That's the expectation they have. I wouldn't expect the start to be tremendous, although spring training, his last outing was good. But you could see him struggle like we saw Tyone struggle early last year, although he has better stuff than Tyone. I'll say the stuff, it looks like it's pretty much there for the most part. He's still hitting the high 90s. The breaking stuff still looks good when it's on. The thing is, he's got to get that fastball command on point because if he doesn't do that, everything else kind of falters. That's the main pitch for him. His slider is really good when it's on too. So I think he'll be just fine. I would expect 125 to 150 innings. Maybe you get a ERA in the high 3s or low 4s. I would guess around the strikeout per inning, maybe a tick more, somewhere in that range. So I think we need to see him get back to himself. He has a 5th-year option. They're going to have to decide if they want to pick that up. They need to see if he's a full part of this future rotation, if he's going to be that top-tier guy, or if he's going to be more of a back-end guy. And that'll determine how they act in the offseason at pitching. Their depth is tremendous, too, behind him.
Yes, I think so, too. We are talking to IBWWA Yankee member Julian Guilarte. By the way, I think Severino's going to have a fine season. I think he's going to pitch more than 125 innings, by the way.
I hope so. I just don't want to pencil him in for more.